Today we will study a very important topic which is called as office management in libraries. See, you need to understand that library and information center itself is a complete unit, a complete division. So where lot of management oriented things are required to look into all the nitty-gritties of the whatever be the office management components are present in it. So we will look into how these things have been managed and what are the things you should do for having a office management in the library itself. Now, what is exactly the office management is? Every organization usually has administrative and financial units that take care of the general maintenance of the physical premises, management of office requirements like the purchase of stationery, equipments, human resources, watch and ward, finance and accounts, and many more. Now, these units under the control of a administrative and finance officers respectively, supported by section officers and assistants. They directly report to the chief manager of the organization. Now, one of the important component of as far as the library is concerned, all the students, you need to understand is what is called as library committee. In fact, there are several nomenclatures related to library committee. Some people they call it library advisory committee. Some people they call it library committee also. So, but the purpose or the goal or the mandate of the library committee remains the same. A library committee is always constituted by the organization with internal members and one or more external members to advise the top management in policy formulation and in establishing the professional standards and norms. This naturally introduces a number of organizational changes. All housekeeping operations invariably are integrated and centralized while the service points are decentralized. However, whatever may be the eventual organizational changes of a library, the principles and the process of organization will still be valid. So organizational charts also will obviously be different for an automated library as against the charts given in the next section. And we will take it up in a very different way that how this entire thing functions and what are the roles and responsibilities are also followed and all. Another important component here I want to emphasize on user education. See, for example, you students, you need to understand why a library exists. Because the main functionality of a library is to provide the service to the users. And these users are different types of users are there. Your main aim is to satisfy these users. Now, user studies, user education, and information literacy are the efforts to put library and information resources to effective use as users constitute the focal point of service in a library. Every activity has to hinge upon user satisfaction and should meet their requirements in any business endeavor. While user studies relate to the study of users' needs and requirements in different contexts and environments which are indeed as complex and intricate as customer studies in business. User education in recent decades is shifting to accentuate on educating learners at all levels to pick up the skills in accessioning, obtaining, evaluating, and using the information effectively. Now, one of the important components as a LIS professional you need to understand is that you have to carry out a user's orientation program in the library, emphasizing on the full exploitation of library and information resources. Because you subscribe to an enormous amount of resources, but do your users who are attached to your organization or attached to your library, do they know what you are subscribing? Or one particular database or particular journal or a book which you are buying, it's meant for whom? So that you need to understand. So there is various formal educational or instructional programs have been offered during the last 50 years by library and information centers as part of the user education. So one of the important component of user education is the part of the information literacy programs is nothing but the orientation program. Initially, user initiation programs comprise library tools, introducing the users to facilities provided by the library, such as the library catalog, reference rooms with display of reference books, etc., supported by printed pamphlets, guides, and such other things. Let me give you an example of a TERI library. Whenever a new researcher is inducted in the organization, one of the most important mandate of as an LIS professional is to give a very thorough orientation program to the researchers. Where are the resources? What are the do's and don'ts? What are the resources he can access from the organization itself, or the resources from sitting at home? They can access the resources through their remote access. So all these informations are provided them in a platter to them, so they can access all these resources. In fact, many a times it happens, because since it is a research-based organization, we do a lot of hand-holding programs also. That in what are the ways we can provide them the research assistance service also. So that is also a part of the orientation program, that how they should conduct different kinds of research. So we do a lot of programs in that context also to them. For example, let me give you an example. As I was given an example of TERI, we conduct information literacy programs. We have these 5 kinds of literacy programs which I have broken down. I'll take up each one of them. One of them is information literacy program, where we give an orientation of the library. What are the databases we are subscribing? What are the IP-based databases? What are the single user ID password-based databases? What are the e-journals? What are the e-books from where they can get the tablets and all issued? So all this and what are the timings and all? What are the rules and regulations? The fine management, everything is provided to the platter to the users. That is basically called as an information literacy program. We also give them an example like, for example, which are the kinds of databases is meant for which kind of resources, because we subscribe to large number of databases. So which particular database you should aim at to get the relevant information on that. That's an information literacy program. Second, your digital literacy program. Like for example, we provide a lot of digital services. Like if somebody wants to scan a research paper, or want to do some kind of digital, want to convert something on digitally. So we provide a large number of services to them for conversion of that. So digital literacy programs, they themselves can do it. We had a large number of digital resources available with us. So we provide them as a service to all of them. Like for example, many of the old publications of TERI, they have been completely converted into digital form. So people generally look for such kind of information very readily. Then another important component which the programs we have started, that is called a research literacy program. This is a research assistant service, because TERI is an organization who is completely involved into research work. So we provide a lot of research assistant service where, like for example, what kind of reference management. We do a lot of programs on academic integrity. We do a lot of programs on different kinds of software which are used on academic integrity and all. So these are a lot of informations are provided them. Another kind of a program is a data literacy program, where the different types of orientations we provided, the different database of data which we have. It's a very, very important, the different kinds of open access databases which we have, the from where the different kinds of data they can retrieve as part of the research teams and all. Like for example, we had a consortia with IEA, International Energy Agency and all. So we can get a lot of information from them. And then finally, one of the important literacy program we also conduct on the knowledge management literacy program, where we had a huge knowledge management system where each and every component is given an orientation program. And these programs are completely, we develop a calendar of all these programs, and on a continuous basis, we tell them that these are the kinds of services which you can provide to each and every researchers. And also this is a very, very mandatory, which are the examples I want to show you. I think TERI is one of the organizations which does a lot of programs, literally this kind of programs on a regular basis. Now, devising special instructional programs. Now, the tools of techniques of using library and information sources have become more complex. Specific educational or instructional programs are organized to get users more familiar with the skills needed, such as searching the references in indexing and abstracting service, compilation of bibliographies using literature search techniques, audiovisual aids to get a total view of many types of research and reference sources, and many of these services which we provide in TERI also. Rapid developments in ICT and their applications in library and information system have brought about a paradigm shift in decisive and important ways of changes in library and information service and information systems. These have been reflected through standalone library and information institutions, getting transformed into automated libraries and networks, availability of information via internet, and a host of other facilities with advancing in ICT. There is a radical change in information literacy programs has taken place over the years. These in turn have radically changed the library information environment. User education programs are in fact fast moving towards information literacy, a comparative new concept that is very actively discussed in national and international forums today. Information literacy is being considered as a basic skill, and a learning process should be included as an integral part of educational curricula at all levels of education, and also that such a skill needs to be developed in lay persons for their own pursuit of vocations or other activities. Now, as far as the information literacy, a global perspective is concerned, now information literacy has picked up a huge, clarion call in the global level. Like for example, in American Library Association, IFLA and UNESCO, they are working very closely and very strongly. They are working on an information literacy program. A report of the Presidential Committee on Information Literacy of the American Library Association 1989, which defines that the ability to recognize when information is needed and to have the ability to locate and evaluate and use effectively the needed information. And they highlighted as skill essential for lifelong learning and the production of an informed and prosperous citizenry. In 2005, an international conference held in Prague, organized by the American National Forum, co-sponsored by UNESCO and IFLA, a proclamation was issued under the importance of information literacy as a basic fundamental human right and a lifelong learning skill. So two important components, fundamental human right and lifelong learning skills. We need to understand this. Interesting, information literacy also rose to consciousness when the United States, when President Barack Obama proclamation designating that October 2009 as National Information Literacy Awareness Month. So you can imagine from October to October every year, this is considered as a National Information Literacy Awareness Program. In India also, at different professional forums, the concept of information literacy is being discussed at length, and a body of literature on this topic is growing rapidly. A lot of papers are published as far as information literacy is concerned. Positive actions are to ensue in the near future. It is important to know that all these ideas of use and users of information are in total conformity with the fundamental laws of library science of Ranganathan. Now we'll come to a very important aspect which is called as organizational charts. The organizational chart and the relationship between the functional unit is a very useful and visual aid that shows the horizontal and the vertical structure of an organization. What is basically we called it as an organogram. Such charts are graphic representation of the organizational structure indicating the span of control, horizontal and vertical positions, relationship with the lines, staff positions, flow of authority and responsibility, communication channels, and such others. Lines of authority are usually represented on organizational charts by unbroken lines, whereas broken lines indicate staff positions and dotted lines show the staff functions like relationship between statutory committees of the organization. So in library also, organogram is an extremely important component to understand. Now, important points of organogram: combination of division criteria for structuring, horizontal and vertical positions, span control, flows of authority and responsibility, functional and coordination points, the way these aspects are represented in the charts, and the advisory role of the library committee. So these are some of the important attributes of an organogram which we have to keep in mind. Let me give you an example of the Ashoka Library organizational chart. Now here you can see the topmost of the organization is the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Malavika Sarkar. Then comes your director, the director library is there. Then on a dotted line, on an advisory body is your library advisory committee. Now, under the director library, there are two deputy librarians are there. And for each deputy librarians, you can see what are the roles and responsibilities. See, like for example, one person would be responsible for books, automation, journal administration. The other person as a deputy librarian would be responsible for journals, e-resources, and reprints. The another component is your assistant librarian, who is also have got a certain roles and responsibilities to look into it. There are two parallel, very important responsible position is there. One of them is senior executives and executives, another is library assistants and attendants. Now, this entire structure which you see, it gives you an organizational chart and the roles and responsibilities, as well as the span of control, the line of authority from one person to another person, one authority to another authority. So it can easily be depicted here in this particular diagram. This is another bigger organization where you can see, the deputy vice chancellor for academic affairs and community service is the head of the body of the entire library. Then you have a library steering committee. Then you have the library director. Then you have the follow-up and coordination department is there. And then further, it is developed into three major areas: deputy director for technical service, administrative director, and then the deputy director for information service. And you can see you have a large number of departments under each one of them. So each one of the departments are responsible to report to one deputy director on the left hand side and the other deputy director on the right hand side. So the roles and responsibilities are very clear, and generally this kind of a structure is very popular in case of a bigger organizations. Another important component which we would like to know, which is a very small organization, like you must have come across several libraries in your own community, which is basically called as a community library. Now, in a community library, you cannot have such a elaborate organogram or an organization structure, where one person or maybe one or two persons would be acting as an office manager, who is going to be the responsible for the entire, the development and the management of the entire, the library is concerned. So the office manager works under the supervision of the COO, and by performing administrative and office support services for the library director, CEO, board of directors, and management team, if it is a trust or a body like that. Okay, so chief operating officer, CEO means chief operating officer. The OM, the office manager, handles a wide range of administrative work in support of library operations, functions, and programs, and will be able to work independently. This person must be exceedingly well organized, flexible, and enjoy the administrative challenges of supporting an office of diverse people. Projects professional image through in-person and phone interaction, and maintains confidentiality. The essential job functions of an office manager is screen the visitors, answer telephone calls and transfers to appropriate staff members, supports the administrative staff of the library, including maintaining, ordering, and distributing office and library supplies, maintains vendor relationship as it pertains to the office and office equipment, receiving and sorting the mail, performs essential bookkeeping functions as bill processing and payment, cash disbursement, preparing of bank accounts, distributes board documents and reports, maintains official board records, maintains and posts the board calendar and meetings, prepares correspondences, report, list, other document instructed and requested, monitors, maintains electronic calendars for the organization, various administrators and library meetings. So you can, it has got a detailed, job description or a JD is available with an office manager. There are some more responsibilities are also there. The reviews income, the receipt from the library circulation operations, liaison with the lead library clerks or the library managers regarding the cash receipts, manages the contract and price negotiation with the office managers and service providers serving as a contact point for contract renewals, maintains hard copy and electronic filing system, coordinates and maintains the records for business office, forms, contracts, lenses, leases, system credit cards, and office keys, coordinates with IT manager on all office equipment across all library departments. So if you see the entire, functionality of a office manager, it almost looks like a librarian of a organization who is managing all the entire show. He's such a responsible position. So there are some more are there. Set up and coordinate meetings and conferences provided any rooms setup needed. Manages stock of library promotional materials and prepares for distribution as needed. Assist with publicizing the events by distributing printed flyer, posting to online event calendars and all. Completes long overdue process including running library reports, composing and sending letters to delinquent, patrons, reviews records for collections and completes follow through process with collection agency and performs other duties as required. Who is the library for? The first and the most important consideration is to establish who is the library free to support. The manager needs to assess the potential audience and the target audiences. They need to consider the number and the skills of the users and any other sources of information they have to access within the establishments. Now, how does the library meet the user's needs, which is very important to understand? It is crucial to make the library relevant to the organization and to match the services to the objectives. Managers need to listen to the users and talk to non-users to understand how services can be better used and to get a clear strategic direction for development of future services. They also need to recognize quick wins that will add value to a large audience. There needs to be a clear awareness of users' behaviors and a willingness to develop services which they can access easily using the preferred contact methods. Managers should also listen to their staff when considering user needs. People working in library services have clear evidence of what users ask for and their responses to what is provided. Where there are stories of satisfied customers, there is a scope to attract more business through marketing and promotion of those elements of the services. Now, has the library got the best people to run its service? This is a tough area for managers to address. Competency frameworks and published surveys show demand for a wide skill set for people working in libraries. Employers not only want core knowledge of information management, but also people with sophisticated communication and relationship building skills. Managers may also have to consider the need to include business specialists, working alongside information specialists in their teams to ensure the services developed aligned to work practices and user skills. There is also an interesting interest in employing a mixture of permanent and contract staff to ensure the best skills are used for business and usual and new service development takes place. The manager also needs to take responsibility for motivating staff and encouraging their personal development. Has the library got the best resource to meet user needs? The manager needs to audit the resource offered to users and ensure they are still meeting needs appropriately. And manager has to conduct this resource audit on a periodic basis because then only he can satisfy the needs of the users. This may include consideration of the balance of printed and online resources and the licensing arrangement for centralized and user workstation access. A review of user involvement in resource selection may provide valuable information about how the service keeps its relevance to the business. Stories from staff and users can again provide evidence of what is valued and what is wished for. Managers should also look at opportunities for shared services, particularly in public sector organizations. To enable them to stretch budget further, they need to be able to construct powerful business cases to pitch for these budgets to provide and enhance services which can be seen to affect overall business performance very positively. And this we generally do very aggressively in the case of Terry as an organization. How does that library network and promotes its services? So this is very important because every resources, every services cannot be provided by library. You have to create a network because then only when your exchange programs of your best practices, your services, resources take place. So very important to develop a library network. The library needs to team up with professionals and support the organization in order to maximize its effectiveness. But separate ICT teams exist. It's highly beneficial to establish close relationship and use knowledge management technique to share expertise and develop the joint services. In fact, we have developed a very strong knowledge management system in Terry based on these concepts. The manager needs to know the key people in the business area and to ensure that they give good services so that they can confidently champion the library and its role in organizational success. New managers need to listen to stories about initiatives that have not worked so that they can concentrate on publicizing existing services to a wider user group and can put resources into developing properly researched new services. It's also important to celebrate innovative services which prove successful and draw wider attention to them in external publicity and in industry award nominations. How does the library measure its performance? The manager doesn't have to operate in isolation, because measurement is a very, very important thing, because then only you can have a user satisfaction. By setting up a library's governance group, he or she can tap into business and support services, expertise, all with a view to championing the services and helping to define the strategic direction and the priorities. Online surveys are conducted, post-action reviews are taken up, and valuable feedbacks are obtained from the users, and a casual conversations or formal discussions can easily give you a lot of hints how you can do the improvisation. Frontline staff should make a point of finding out how their work is used in a wider business context and what the overall outcome of the business was. And in fact, frontline staff, they play a very, very important role because they are the first people who interact with the users. Outcomes may include influencing new product development, attracting new clients, or enabling greater revenue to be collected. Managers need to evaluate feedback and ensure that their performance is reported and recognized. From this anticipated position of strength and acknowledgement value of the library's role, the managers needs to celebrate briefly with staff, then to start the life cycle checklist again. Organization changes constantly, and the library must do so to retain its level of success in actual perceived terms. It's challenging and requires hard work and proactive interaction with the business, but the rewards are worthwhile for all concerned. So there are some, looking at what we have done right now, there are certain library manager skills are required. Desire to meet and serve the library's users community. Ability to think analytically and to develop new or revise system procedures and workflow. Ability to exercise initiative and independent judgment. Knowledge of computers, the internet, and commercially available library software. Ability to prepare comprehensive reports and present the ideas. Ability to make administrative decisions, interpret the policies. Ability to motivate, establish, and maintain effective working relationship with their associates, supervisors, so they are bridging the gap. So, knowledge of the philosophy and techniques of library service. Ability to organize job duties and work independently. Creativity to develop and implement library programs or services. Ability to come both orally and in writing. So these are some of the fundamental skills which we look for a library managers in today's context. So I have given you a complete overview that what are the roles to be played by an office manager or a library manager when he is managing the library in an organization, irrespective of the shape, size of that organization. So thank you all for a patient listening. And thank you very much.